It's 7 o'clock or shortly thereafter on April 3rd, and then we'll call the council meeting to order. Will you please join me in a flag salute? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Everybody's here with the exception of Councilor McDonald, who's excused tonight. With that, I'll ask if there's any additions to the agenda. Anything, Julia?
I have something that I was going to mention under my staff announcements. It's referring to the letter that's in front of you, but I'll talk about that
Sounds
then,
good.
if that's okay.
Yep, absolutely. Is there any declarations of ex-party contact, conflict of interest, bias, et cetera, from anybody? No? Awesome. Any appointments today? I don't think there is there? No appointments, correct? Cool. This is an opportunity for public comment, and we have one person that submitted a letter to be recognized. That's Lucas Lunsky. Mr. Lunsky, you're up. You want to come up and state your name, please, and your address? And Lucas is here to talk about terminating the easement for a public pathway. Yeah, you bet. Just hit the button there if you would. Green.
Yep, my name is Lucas Lunsky. I live at 1479 North Evergreen Avenue. And yeah, so basically my property has the pathway that used to go to Regis from Evergreen Avenue. Now that Regis has blocked off that pathway, what I'm getting concerned about is the amount of trash that's starting to accumulate there. And then we're also getting kind of worried that eventually maybe a homeless person could move down there or kids start using it as like a drug access area because it is blocked completely by arborvitae at a dead end street. And just for, the safety of our family, I have a 2-year-old that plays in our backyard, and I just don't really want it to become a problem and then have to deal with it afterwards. So what I'm looking to do is actually terminate the easement and then just take that property back and basically re-fence next to my neighbor's house and just make it look like the path was never there. And so I've talked to a couple people at Public Works. They are pretty much all on board and keep asking why I haven't vacated it yet, and I'm just kind of waiting to get the approval to do it. And so figured I'd bring it up to you guys and kind of see where we can go from there.
Okay, thanks. Julia, can you give them the right direction? It sounds like we've talked to Public Works already.
Yeah, I'll get you my card and we can touch base. It's an application process that needs to be done, so I'll circle back with you if you're
Okay.
willing to stick around.
Yeah, I'll
and we
stick
can
around.
kind of talk through that.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yep. With that goes item number 6 in the consent agenda. That's for the council work session as well as the regular session minutes.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Ort.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Mr. Mayor, this is Councilor Patty. I second that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to accept the consent agenda for both the work session and the regular session minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 4-0. That leads us to the presentations from the proclamation that I have to read here, and I will read that. This is the proclamation of Child Abuse Prevention Month for April of 2023. Whereas every child deserves to live in a safe, loving, and caring family environment, and whereas in 2021 there were 10,766 reported victims of child abuse and neglect in Oregon, of which 1,094 were victims in Marion County, and whereas we stand together as individuals, organizations, and government agencies to commit to preventing child abuse in our own county by raising awareness throughout the community and by educating and supporting caregivers. And whereas we assert that strong families and safe, stable, and nurturing environments free from violence, abuse, and neglect are essential for children's optimal growth and success, which ensures a secure future for our communities, where the needs of children are a priority and the needs of families are met. And now, therefore, the Stayton City Council asks everyone to commit to protecting our children and does hereby proclaim April 2023 as Child Abuse Prevention Month, dated at Stayton, Oregon, this 3rd day of April 2023.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Ort.
what exactly do these proclamations do? What's the purpose of them?
Yeah, great question. I think this one in particular just lends the support of the community at large, calling attention to the child abuse issue, and just trying to remind everyone to be responsible in reporting what they see and whatnot, and really try to figure out a way as a community to de-escalate the number of incidents that we have, and have the community really be a safe place for us to raise our family. Is that sufficient, Julia? Or would you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that other proclamations that you might see are just awareness of different, like a Police Awareness Month, Public Works, Public Works Month, things like that, just to kind of have more of a recognition of what that is and have it blessed or acknowledged by the city council. It just sort of elevates it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anybody else have any questions, comments? Okay, thanks. That leaves us to the community partner and Stayton Public Library Foundation.
So, and I'll introduce Dina Freris, who's going to come up and share with you, as all of our community partners do, what they're doing for and with Stayton.
Shall I
You
stand
should.
or
You
sit?
can have a seat, thanks.
I would prefer to sit. Thank you. Thanks for the invitation. My name is Dina Freris. I live in Stayton and have for the past almost 16 years now. I'm involved with the Stayton Public Library Foundation, which was founded in 1992. That's a whopping 31 years ago. And the mission of the foundation is to raise funds to improve the Stayton Public Library facilities, to provide an endowment to support library operations, and to support special library programs and services. So our focus is to raise funds so that we can put all the cherries on top at our local fabulous library. We partner weekly, if not daily, when one of the foundation members is there with Jana Moser and her team. They're fabulous. Our job is to continue to work with our donors that live here in the community to secure the funds. And then also we do a lot of grant writing and ask of private foundations, mostly within the state of Oregon, to support our outreach and literacy programs. That includes most recently our partnership with the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, which provides books to families who register, or anyone with a child in their home from birth to age 5, I believe. See, there's the expert back there. And so it builds a personal library in the homes of folks. And to support the children's development and learning, and the outcomes from that are proven nationwide. So we're really excited about that partnership. It's important for us to continue raising funds, and the way that we've done that in the past typically has been through community events. We're just coming off of the quiet period of 2020, and so we are looking forward to more opportunities to get folks in the library before and after hours, and to remind the community how important the services at the library are. So our goal is to be able to support programs on top of what tax funding dollars can do, also to build a reserve in the endowment so that should a repair or an improvement to the facility itself come at a surprise for the city, that we would like to be there to help. So we want to steward those dollars well, and continue to prioritize that as leadership to make sure that we have some funds set aside. And let's see, lastly, I would say that we are starting to launch back into those community programs, like what we've done, Father-Daughter Ball in the past, Brews, Bites, and Books in the past. The library team suggested and developed the teddy bear tea that was before the Saturday before Valentine's Day, and it was a huge success. So we see an opportunity to build on that for next year. And while it would remain open to the community, we see some opportunities for businesses to partner for sponsorships and to really build on that success. So we're here to say yes when Jana and her team need something, and we're also here to make sure that we stay, I strongly believe, the best community library in the state, and we're not the only ones who think so. So thanks for your continued support of us and our programs, and as we are able to settle in a little better and build our board back up and potentially replace our foundation assistant, that we're going to be looking to do some more events. So any questions?
Any other questions?
The library is the place to be.
Dina, thanks for your leadership on that foundation. And I think you really, over the years, you can really see the difference that organization's made. So thank you for that.
It's an honor.
Yep. Anybody have any questions?
I just want to say that I'm excited to go to another Books, Bites, and Brews,
Yes.
Bites, and Books.
Right.
Ever, I guess. I think I went to the last one that you had.
That was probably, it might have been
2019?
2019.
Yeah. So
For obvious reasons,
Yes.
so we won't mention what happened after that. But
Sure.
yeah, so we saw not only a dip in the opportunity to provide community activities like that, we also saw a huge dip in interest in our volunteer support and our board support. So we're working hard to build back up so that we can pull those off, and it's not a burden on the library staff. So the last thing we want to do is overburden the city staff. So we want to make sure if we're going to do something like that, that we are funded and have volunteers to pull that off.
Mr. Mayor, I have another question. So for your library board, is it open to only Stayton residents or anyone in the surrounding? Like I have friends who frequent the library in or that come from Almsville
Yes.
frequently, and they might
That's
be interested.
that's the glory, if you will, the foundation is that if we have folks that live outside the area that want to support the outreach efforts, the foundation is a fantastic way to do it. We'd entertain anyone who's interested in helping out, either as a volunteer or as a board member or both.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Awesome.
Thank you.
That leaves us with follow-up with Jana.
So, yeah, this is Jana's update, library briefing, if you will. So take it away, Jana.
And I have slides for you guys. All right. So tonight, I'd like to give you an update on the library. So this is a traditional picture of what the library is, right? The kind of library that's been around for generations. We'll see if my thing moves. There we go. That's still an important piece of library service, but the library is so much more now. Now we check out DVDs and Spanish language materials and board games and outdoor games and wonder books. We have a Library of Things collection and even check out downloadable materials. We provide computers and printing and scanning and copying and tax resources. We also check out mobile hotspots as part. Those are funded through a grant that we receive in partnership with Chemeketa Cooperative Regional Library Service. But the library is more than all of that too. It's a community place, providing opportunities to explore and a place to build connection and relationships. It's story time and book club and Dungeons and Dragons. It's events like our haunted library, our lantern walk, and our teddy bear tea party. It's our 4th annual art show featuring the work of local artists of all ages. It's summer reading and cookie decorating and maker labs. It's Read Across Stayton, in which 43 businesses and organizations and classrooms let us take pictures of them, right? Catching them reading, or let us read with them in their classrooms as part of our community promotion. It's the new early learning manipulatives that are part of our Refresh Children's area, thanks in part to an Oregon Community Foundation Summer Learning Grant. It's our Library of Things collection, which makes items like magnetiles and snap circuits and a Botley coding robot and bird watching kits available for checkout. And these are pictures of what access to that kind of collection looks like. The library's outreach story time, which has gone to the pumpkin patch at Greenbridge Gardens, the Hyatt Christmas Tree Farm, and in 2 weeks we'll be at the Oregon Gardens in partnership with Silver Falls Library District. We've been able to give all children who've attended those story times a free book to keep. And thanks to the generous support of the Stayton Friends of the Library, the Stayton Public Library Foundation, and the local chapter of the DAR. It's increasing access to books for children at home by being a Dolly Parton Imagination Library affiliate. Dana just talked about this program, but it's sending a free book each month to children ages 0 to 5, living in Stayton, Sublimity, Gates, Mahama, Detroit, and Idana. And it's made possible through our partnership with the Stayton Public Library Foundation. And the library is our amazing crew. The magic that's happening at the library would not be possible without each and every one of them. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Ort?
I don't have any questions, but we just checked out that robot that you saw, the Botley robot. I think it's due tomorrow. Make sure we have all the pieces, but the kids loved it. And my son checked out chess and played chess when my brother came over. And he's like, oh, you know how to play chess? And so they played together. Yeah. And he's checked out the bird kit twice. Because we have a woodpecker that he is like, he likes to write down. He went to Mill City to my in-laws' house and wrote down the birds he saw there. So there's lots of fantastic things, and the books too. So thank you. It's a great place.
I'm glad.
Real quick,
Go ahead.
thank you, Ms. Counselor Patty. Just wanted to say thank you for the public outreach that you and your staff do in the community. I feel like it adds so much value to Stayton, just as this regional gym that we have here to the canyon. And I feel like those early learning opportunities for the children that are attending some of those, readings and things like that, and little events and all those different things, I think that that's great for this community, and more of that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate everything that's been said. It's one of the favorite spots for my kids as well and my family, and I absolutely love it. And this is all right if you don't have an answer for this. I was just kind of curious. So in terms of like the funding breakdown on the library, so it's funded by the city, and there's also the foundation, Friends of the Library, and I also know that there's some fundings that come from like the Chemeketa cooperative. What kind of is that breakdown, or is that something, I mean, obviously I can look at that later, but is there like a general kind of breakdown?
So I can give you numbers in my head, right? In my head, our primary funding is the tax levy, right?
Yes,
the local option levy is our primary piece of funding.
Yeah.
We do receive a portion of the taxes received by Chemeketa Cooperative Regional Library Service.
Okay.
So we get the number that we get from them is calculated annually in our contract with them. So that number is built half. So 50% of that number is built on our Stayton's assessed value. And the other 50% is on the checkouts to residents that aren't from Stayton. So last year we had a substantial increase in our number because we did an amazing amount of service during curbside to lots of residents that weren't ours during the pandemic. So we had neighboring cities that weren't, we did awesome, that's why, right? We will not receive that as much as that because that was an unheard amount of money that we would, that we'll redistribute as other libraries get into full swing of things, right? But we do a lot of circing to residents that aren't ours. So that's part of that number from them, and that's a varying number. It depends. It looks at all libraries in the 18 library cooperative, and there's a formula for how that figures out. So that's not something I can super plan and say, I'm going to get this much this year, right? So that depends on everybody's service levels and how non-residents are using their service levels, and also who's growing, right? So a portion of that. But our biggest piece of funding comes from the local option levy. We could not operate in the manner that we were operating without that. And then the funding that we get from the foundation and from the Friends of the Library is used to enhance what we can do. It can't be, they cannot afford to pay for us, right, the whole thing. But what we can do is stuff on top of what we can do. And we could not do things like the Dolly Parton Library, Imagination Library, or the summer reading that we're doing, we could not do without the support of the Friends. All of those pieces all work together. Okay.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So for the Chemeketa Cooperative, there's an increased level of funds that we get from that based on how many residents outside of our community are using.
Are served by
the library.
At our library.
Okay. that
And
makes
the
sense.
assessed value. It's a 50-50 percentage, right? So 50% of our calculation is based on the CERC to non-residents, and the other 50% is on Stayton's assessed value that it brings to the cooperative, because it's their tax money, right? So
Yeah.
everybody's assessed value plays a part in that too.
The assessed value that it would have towards the total tax for the Chemeketa
For
Cooperative.
Chemeketa.
Okay, that makes sense. This is just another interesting question. How would you say, in terms of, on that question of people within the city and out of the city using the library, what's kind of the breakdown of that?
I don't have a
or is
breakdown
that
for you.
even possible to kind of know? Or
What I can tell you is that typically Stayton serves a high number of residents that aren't ours. I don't have a breakdown for cards for like how many percentage rise, right? We serve a lot of people. I don't have a way to I could maybe dig down, but like that would be an incredible amount of digging to try
Yeah.
to figure out the exact percentage of who's in and who's out.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Now, that's just something I'm just curious about in terms of kind of because it does feel very much like a regional library that has a regional impact.
Yes.
So just kind of curious around kind of the breakdowns with kind of the region versus the city. But yeah, it's fantastic. Well, thank you for all the work you guys do. It's
you.
really phenomenal. So thank you.
Jen, I got a question for you. What's the biggest capital improvement need right now at the library?
So the library's been very fortunate. Our building has done, we have a building in good shape. What the library's biggest challenge is that we have 8 separate HVAC systems to regulate the temperature of the library. And so we have one HVAC system on the schedule every year, right? Because they're at the end of their lifespan.
Right.
And so that's something that we're working on.
Okay.
I need to do one every year so that they also, because they all came at the same time,
Right.
right? So
Okay.
that's kind of our challenging thing there.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else? Thank you, Jenna. That leads us to general business, and we're going to talk about the fiscal year 22-23, quarter 1 and 2 financial report, staff report.
So I'm going to introduce Randy. She is on the screen. She's helped hold us together without a finance director. She does have some help, I think, from me and Alyssa, but more so from the consultant Summer, who's not with us this evening. So Randy's going to go over this, the report that's in your packet, and then try to answer your questions. But we're also here if additional assistance is needed. So Randy, go ahead and take it away.
Hey, thank you, Julia. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to be updating quarter 1 and quarter 2 for the financials, and you guys have those in your packets already. The dashboard is the first 2 quarters of the fiscal year combined, and it's just comparing this year to last year. All of the colors on the far right-hand side, so the green ones are all numbers that are looking good, and the yellow ones are the ones that we're keeping a close eye on as we're right at a little over 50% of the year. The beginning balances coming into this year look really good, including the general fund. The water fund is the only one exception that we have at this time, and we will be considering a budget adjustment for that. But we're still keeping a close eye on that. The revenues are also looking good, and we have received 93% of the year's property taxes, which is on target. And all of those funds come in November, so it kind of stacks it and makes it look bigger than what it should be, but most of the funds have trickled in for that. As for intergovernmental revenue, it looks like we're waiting on an ARPA grant. And other revenue, a big portion of the higher interest rates is just the city investment accounts that are held at the state treasury have been the interest has been more than what was projected. So if there's any questions, let me know.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
I just have one question, and it's all right if there's no answer. It's the same question I had with you, Julia, and I didn't know if there were any updates on just the one area that does seem a little is the operations, and just kind of curious what that money, that bucket is under general fund. Do you happen to know kind of what those funds are for? And it's great. We can also talk about it offline as well, but just kind of curious if anyone kind of.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to do some research on that and I can get back to you.
Yeah, that sounds great. That sounds great. And I also know, yeah, no problem. I was doing digging on it too, and it was hard for me to. I know we were having trouble kind of finding exactly. I feel like there's a good explanation. It's just buried somewhere.
Yeah, and it makes up a lot of different numbers. So let me do some digging before I try to answer that, and I'll get back to you.
Sounds great. Thank you.
And I have to apologize because Councilor Giglio did ask me that question and got sidetracked. And so I will follow up with everybody in an email once we have that information. So sorry.
Sounds great. That's awesome.
Good question.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Ort.
Randy, you said that we have 93% of our taxes collected. Is that just an update of the, because it says we have about 82%, or am I reading that wrong? Where it says
Under
revenue
the
highlights,
beginning fund balance.
Well, no, under revenue highlights, it says property tax and local tax levies. It says we're about 82% of the total amount.
Yeah, so the 93% I was referring to the beginning fund balance taxes. The number is correct on the other set of property taxes. Most of those come in during the months of November. So it is a possibility we could see a few more trickle in, but the majority of the revenue is in there.
So what's the difference between the 93% and the 82%? Well, are they just different numbers?
Does Randy have a
I guess I'm just asking because it says collections on the library, parks, and pool levies will have been slower than expected and may not make the full amount budgeted for the year.
I will have to look into that a little bit more to get all of the details.
Okay.
So I'm going to hazard a guess, and we can confirm, but I believe that the 93 is is everything combined, and what's highlighted in the tax levies is everything, is things separated out. But we'll
Okay.
confirm that for you.
Thank you.
Council have any more questions for Randy or for staff? This is an opportunity for public comment. Is there anybody who wishes to give public comment? There's no decision on this, is there, Julia?
No.
Yeah. On the agenda, it says council discussion. So any other further discussion? No further discussion? All right, Julia?
So I'll lead my updates with just a finance update. So we have, again, I think we've done a really good job of holding everything together while we've been without a finance director. We have completed the interview process, and we did make an offer that was accepted. We're in the background check phase, so I'm not going to go into much more detail until everything is confirmed, but we're very optimistic and hopeful that we'll have a finance director here within the month. And I think they will be pleased at how we have kept everything together while we have been without a finance director. Any questions for me on that at this time? I also wanted to mention, so we talked about it briefly, there's a letter in front of you this evening. It's a draft letter regarding House Bill 3414-1, or with -1 amendments. This was requested from the League of Oregon Cities. They had an action alert type of thing when they have bills that they see that are getting some traction and they have concerns about. They ask cities to write those. And so I've drafted this letter that I would like to get your head nod of approval that the mayor can sign. But on a similar note, these are going to be coming more and more frequently as the legislature remains in session. And without the mayor having express permission to act on your behalf, he really can't act on your behalf. And so sometimes there might be some issues that are very time sensitive. And so I wanted to see if there was an opportunity or a willingness for council to grant Mayor Quigley the authority to write letters that are requested by League of Oregon Cities for action alerts, or that are of interest to the city of Stayton specifically, if there's financing issues and things like that, to give him the authority to write a letter on the city's behalf without having to come to council individually with, to get permission to do so, with the understanding that you'd be copied on those, you'd know about those. And I think that he has I think he would come to council on anything that he is uncertain about, but I think that would make things go a little bit smoother. So I wanted to throw, I guess, two issues out there. One is this letter specifically, but also see about whether or not that would be something the council would be willing to give him the direction to do.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to add, I think to highlight the point is, you all have seen maybe the urgency and the request coming from LOC and coming from our representatives about the deadline for submission in the opposition or support or whatnot. And I think a lot of the times that I send it to Julie, I'm like, hey, what about this? And the deadline is, 48, 72 hours. And we're not going to have the opportunity to come before council and see if you all want to be on the same page. But I think before I did anything that was questionable, I would definitely reach out to you and say, hey, here's one for consideration. What do you think? And I think that's the way we approached it. So it's up to you what you guys want to do. But that's from my perspective, that's what we're looking at.
Mr. Mayor, this is Councilor Patty.
Councilor Patty.
Yeah, I kind of like this idea. I think that this has been kind of a continued issue that's come up for us, and I think that this would sort of resolve it. My question at this point is, what do we need to do to ensure that he has the authority to do that? That's kind of where I'm coming at this from.
So my understanding, and listening to Ross talk to you guys several weeks ago now, is really it's a motion, and I think you can be as specific or vague as you want to be. If you want to give him the authority to write letters on behalf of the city of Stayton that affect the city of Stayton financially or bureaucratically, if you will, that would be, I think, give a wide range of things. There might be specific, and then you'd make a motion, you'd approve it, and then he would have that authority to do that and feel comfortable writing a letter. I think that's really where the issue is he needs to feel comfortable that he's got the authority to do that in order to write the letter. So, yeah, I think just a motion would allow him to do that.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Councilor Julie.
Yes, I very much support this idea. I think that I am very supportive of any opportunity to have to submit more testimony and to be able to make these decisions. And I definitely trust your decision making on what will be of best interest, like where our interests would lie with the city. So I would be very supportive of any measure like this.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Sims.
I also would be supportive of it. It sounds like it's pretty time sensitive for a lot of these letters, and it might be difficult to make the rounds with all of us or get together in a formal setting. So I definitely support that idea.
Okay. Councilor Ort.
Mr. Mayor, what if our motion was that we could do like because it sounds like everybody is mostly on board, but if it's like, hey, this is a letter that we want to write, and then we like say yes or no to Julia, and it's basically a majority. So as long as you get a majority of the council, is that possible to do it like that?
Yeah, the challenge is then we're having a meeting outside of a meeting. If, so what we've done in some letters is, well, here's a letter, if you want to sign it, come in and sign it, versus you giving the authority outside of a meeting, and then there's a majority that says, sign it. That's really a meeting outside of a meeting.
I think, Councilor, just from the political representative standpoint, is that's the only reason I'm looking at it. I wouldn't definitely speak on your behalf if it's something I felt that strongly about. I know that you guys, what positions you take. By all means, I wouldn't take that stand. I think from a political standpoint, just as speak on the city's desire, for example, on a funding bill or something like that.
Yeah.
Where it's really going to affect the operations. For example, last week I was at work and the representative called and said, I need this information. And so I know I can give that, but I want to make sure I don't speak on behalf of the city. You know what I mean? And so that's the instance that I'm looking at. So.
Okay. I'm okay with that. I would say, especially because we were all on board with the CAFO bill and writing a letter in support, and then all of a sudden they threw in a -1 amendment, which is something apparently they're doing with a lot of things at the moment, is they're just they're like having these placeholder bills, and then all of a sudden they're just shoving everything in it after they've had a public hearing, which is fantastic. So after that happened, talking with Mayor Quigley, I didn't support it. And then I talked to Senator Girard, who was like, hey, you sent me this letter. And I was like, let me tell you what happened. We sent that before the amendment. So I had an opportunity to have a conversation with him, but it changed.
Yep.
It changed really quickly what was going on with the bill. So
Agreed.
I would agree with that.
And I would recommend, and I think Mayor Quigley would probably do this anyways, on things like that people might have different opinions on, I think he still would solicit the opinion of council. It's really the things that this is going to affect the way we are able to operate as a city. This is going to affect our contracting rules. This is going to affect, it's going to give mandates to us that we don't have funding. So I think it's going to be more bureaucratic related issues as well as funding things. And I think that, if there's discretionary type of things, how you feel one way or the other on an issue, I think he would still, I don't know that he would speak on behalf of council in those situations.
Yeah, I think in this particular case, and in the ones coming forward, as members of the League of Oregon Cities, that's what the league is doing. The league is calling attention to this issue as far as how it could accept our autonomy as a city. And this is that particular case. In this particular situation, that's how Julie and I had the discussion about, hey, because there's been a lot of times I've called and said, okay, what do I do here? Because I don't want to speak on your guys' behalf without having a consensus. So,
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Giglio.
I 100% agree with everything that's been said. I guess I don't 100%. I 95% agree with everything that's been said. Except I personally, these are very time sensitive, and I do think there's probably a model where you could, if there was a letter that was sent out where it was later we were I'm not sure about that letter, we could always send another letter that was like, all right, we we changed our position a little bit on this. But I think for the most part, like I feel like the broadest amount of discretion, I would be comfortable with the broadest amount of discretion for you to be able to send on behalf, just because I think, and it's just, we're just granting it for this, this legislative cycle. And I think there's a lot of broad support for you and for your positions on these issues. And so I just would say, like, I wouldn't necessarily limit it in the motion that we pass, just because I think that there are going to be a lot of issues that affect us. And so I don't want to necessarily say if it's just a budgetary thing or anything like that. I feel fairly comfortable with you speaking on our behalf as a city and just as the will of the council, because I think you understand a lot of where we sit and I think where the citizens are at. So, yeah.
Thank you. Councilor Patty?
Mr. Mayor, I think I'm going to go ahead and make a motion for this unless you want to create it into a resolution or something. Okay, cool. Well, in that case, I move that we grant Mayor Quigley the powers to sign off on letters from the State and City Council. Is that sufficient, Julia?
That's sufficient, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Second?
There's a motion and a second, too. Can you restate the, did you write it down yet? I want to make sure it's on the record what the motion actually is.
Okay, it's a test. I feel like this is a test, okay. To grant Mayor Quigley the power to sign off on letters on behalf of the city council. Did I get it all?
Go
I
ahead.
might want to modify it. Here.
Go ahead.
We might want to just say to state legislature, to the state, like letters to the state legislature, right? To state legislature.
Legislative, state or federal?
To elected officials. Yeah, letters to elected officials.
Okay.
On behalf of the, I mean, I don't know if do we need to make a new motion then?
You could be edited.
Can it, amend the motion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Councilor Patty?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
This is Councilor Petty. I'm going to amend the motion to include the Oregon State Legislature for this legislative session. I believe is what everybody
And
wanted, right?
federal. And federal?
I think we're,
Are we doing federal too?
Yeah, I think elected
Federal,
officials,
okay.
because you could have county, state, or
Yeah,
federal.
that's true.
do we do want,
Okay.
but we do want to set maybe potentially a time limit on it, is what you're saying?
Sure.
Like maybe for the year, we could say for 2023.
Mr. Mayor, this is Councilor Petty. Let me just withdraw the motion and we'll go ahead and make a different one.
Okay. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, this is Councilor Patty. I'm going to go ahead and move that we grant Mayor Quigley the ability for the year 2023 to write letters of support on behalf of the state and city council to federal, state, and county elected officials. Okay.
Okay.
I second.
So it's been moved and seconded, and I'll wait for staff to read it back to us. And we'll continue discussion once they read it back.
What part did you get? Okay.
I think I got it. Do you?
I know.
Let me repeat back what I believe I heard. To grant Mayor Quigley the ability to write letters for the year 2023 to, on behalf of the city of Stayton, to state, federal, and county elected officials.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you got it. And quick discussion.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just think that prior to year 2024, maybe we could actually put that into a resolution, though, so that it's more thought out and there's clear limitations and what this looks like. So just by December, if we could get that going, that would be perfect.
Any further discussion? Councilor Sims, anything?
No, I like how it's read. It sounds
Okay.
good to me.
Okay. Councilor Ort, you good?
Okay.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to grant Mayor Quigley the ability to represent the city council to elected officials, both federal, state, county, et cetera, for the year 2023. Is that correct? All right, moved and seconded. We had discussion. No further discussion. Go
Mr.
ahead.
Mayor.
We do have some more further discussion. Council Giglio.
Sorry. Just for like a legal standpoint, what's the word? What's the word that is used for? It says, what's the word in the motion? Can you read the motion one more time?
It's not in order. Okay. So grant Mayor Quigley the ability to write letters of support for the year of 2023 on behalf of the city to state, federal, and county officials. Did I get it all?
Elected, right?
Elected officials.
Including in,
Is to
2023.
right.
okay, and to grant the ability is the right word. I think that's the right.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd get too hung
Wordy,
up on it.
yeah.
The issue is really, you're letting him know that he has the authority to act and speak on behalf of the city council. And so it's really more of a comfort mechanism for him to write letters without feeling like he needs to get authority from you guys. So you can wordsmith it, but I don't know that it's necessary to wordsmith it. It's really, you're being clear with your direction to him to write letters.
Yeah, the intent is clear. Okay, great.
All right, so that's that one. What about this one specifically? What does the council wish to do on this one specifically?
Oh.
Sorry.
Wait, do we need to vote on the
Oh,
last
sorry,
one?
yep. See, you got me ahead of myself. All right, it's been moved, seconded, discussion. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries 4-0.
And then Mayor Quigley, I would
Yes.
argue that based on the motion that was just passed, you don't need to discuss this anymore.
Okay. So with that, business owner from the mayor, I'm going to sign this thing. There you go.
I do have a couple more just updates real quick, I'm sorry. Just wanted to remind you of the City Hall closure because of the sewer line replacement that's going on this week. Let me know if you hear of any issues or concerns. We've got notice on the door. We've put notice out on social media, although it's not, I haven't seen a ton of it. Tammy is across the street in Public Works and kind of going over regularly to do different little things. And we have somebody at the courthouse, and the rest of us are working remotely, but very much available if needed. But let me know if you hear anything or have any concerns. Also wanted to mention that we have the Homeless Task Force listening session next Monday, April 10th here from 6 to 8. That's goes along with a survey that we also have out live right now. Share that information with anybody and everybody. We'd like people to take the survey and/or attend the listening session. So hopefully we can get a good turnout at both. And that is all I had. I don't know if Chief Johns is shaking her heads. No police updates this week. But any questions for me or my staff that are here?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Councilor Julia.
Julia, sorry, that wasn't a bad sound. I just had it in my brain and then it. Oh, yeah. Have we thought about what are the ways that we are publicizing the listening session right now?
So the really two main ways, we put out a flyer in the utility bill that has information about that as well as a QR code. And then we have some flyers that can be distributed into businesses and then out on social media.
Great. And what would be a way for anyone to get flyers for that?
I can make sure Tammy has them and they could be picked up at Public Works.
Great. Fantastic. And then I have another question. I was actually curious what this is exactly, the strategic dashboard for the Stayton PD.
That's when you left early, Councilor Giglio, last
Okay,
meeting.
gotcha. Thank you.
I don't want to speak on behalf of Chief.
You
but-
got me.
But it's basically just Chief coming and explaining to us where the reporting's to be found and how you look at it and interpret it. And if you have any questions, you can ask her.
Great.
I put a motion
I think someone's out of order. There you go. There you go. Anybody else? Julia, you good with that?
Yes.
On your side?
Yes.
Okay, opportunity for council. Go ahead, Council Hort.
Mayor Quigley, I do have something. So in keeping in line with Child Abuse Prevention Month, so along with the services at the library, I utilize the Libby app very often with my kids. It's a fantastic resource. It's like Audible. You get to use your library card to listen to books, and it's fantastic. But what I wanted to mention on there is that in looking, it's a service provided through the Shemeketa Cooperative, and the app itself doesn't have any safeguards on it. And so there was a book that I found recently that is available through the cooperative on the Libby app, and it's actually at the Stayton High School that I would consider child abuse. I'm not going to name what it is. If you want to know what it is, you can ask me. But I just want the public and to us to be aware that this is something that is beneficial but can be abused or used in a manner that's not safe. And so there's a lot of ways that we have to be more vigilant as parents nowadays, specifically with technology. And so just to kind of be aware of that, to not just give your kids carte blanche on the Libby app, because there is no way to censor any of the material that's on there. So, thank you.
Thanks, Council Hort.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Patty.
Yeah. So real quick, as long as we're talking about returning the conversation to legislature bills and things that are coming through there was one that caught my eye, and I actually was able to touch bases with the mayor and then the Water Control District about this. So Senate Bill 1086, chief sponsors are going to be David Brock Smith, and then Weber, and then Representative Osborne. So this is actually working on specifically defining a campsite, not including an established campground used by individuals in accordance with terms and conditions established by the owner of the campground. But essentially, it's providing that any person may submit a complaint to the Department of Environmental Quality if the person reasonably believes that an established camping site used by homeless individuals is causing the discharge of any wastes into the waters of the state. Upon receiving a complaint under the subsection of this section, the department shall investigate the complaint. If the complaint is verified, the department shall cause the homeless individuals to be removed from the camping site and clean any waste at the camping site as necessary to protect the waters of the state. The department may contract or collaborate with any local government to carry out removal and cleanup activities under this section. The removal of homeless individuals under this section must be conducted in a manner that conforms to previous provisions of ORS 195.505. In investigating complaints under this section, the department shall give priority to complaints of waste discharges into surface waters that are sources of municipal drinking water. This 2023 Act takes effect on the 91st day after the date of which the 2023 regular session of the 82nd Legislative Assembly adjourns seen day. I just thought that maybe this might be something that's worth supporting. I realize it perhaps may not be going anywhere in our Oregon legislature. However, I think that seeing as how the Water Control District has interest in potentially signing off on this too with us, maybe this is something that deserves full council support. And so I bring this forward before you all in hopes that maybe somebody would be willing to support this alongside.
Thanks, Councilor Patty. I think given the nature of some of our camps adjacent to the river, that would be pertinent to help us in our quest to address the issue that we have in town. So I would support that if we know what current position the bill's in, or do you know?
Yeah, I do. So currently it's in the Rules Committee.
Okay. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Councilor Giulio.
Yeah, I would support that.
Thank you.
Councilor Sims.
I spent a lot of times on the rivers growing up. I definitely support that.
Okay. So we'll look at that a little closer, I think, and see what we can do to give some testimony there.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other items from the council? No? One thing I want to mention that I didn't mention when I was reading the proclamation was, and I believe, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, Chief or Julia, I believe that as elected officials, we are required to report what we see when it comes to the child abuse piece. And I can't remember the official terminology.
Mandatory report.
Mandatory reporters, there you go. Yeah, is that still the
I
case?
am not certain if elected officials are mandatory reporters, but I will certainly
Okay, yeah,
look into
good,
that and let
yeah.
you guys know.
And if not, I mean, we should still do it because from a morality standpoint, right? It's just the right thing to do. But I thought we were last time, but if you want to check again, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I will definitely check in on that.
Awesome.
Real quick, Mr. Mayor, this is Councilor Petty again. I am a mandatory reporter for my day job, and just so everybody knows, if you are aware of an abuse situation, please call 1-855-503-SAFE, and that's going to be 7233 for the numbers.
Thanks, Councilor Patty. Appreciate that. Anything else from anybody? Nope. With that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thanks, everybody.